Welcome to the Arts to Hearts podcast, a show for artists, creators, creative entrepreneurs to have heartfelt conversations about living a creative life and a career. As you go into this show, hear your favorite creators talk about money, mindset, business, creativity, and everything else that goes behind into making a life that we all adore as an artist. Hear the messy and the wonderful side of being a creative. I am your host, Charika Arora, an artist, creator, and founder of Arts to Hearts project. Thank you for joining me here. Let's jump right in. Hello, Katherine.
Hi, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good, thank you.
Okay, you look way more professional than me right now.
Well, thank you. You had mentioned to get headphones and a mic, and I'm so OCD and I'm such a perfectionist that I was like, done. That is my homework for the day. So I went out
Yeah,
searching.
honestly, you were the first person who was like, um, who was very like, okay, this is what I need to do. You let me know. And I was like, we can do something, we can figure it out. And when I saw you with everything, I was like, oh my God, it felt like I was like, did I made you do this?
No, absolutely not. It's funny. My friends and family always joke because I have a very hard time spending money on myself, but I love buying things for work. So the fact that I could like buy cool gear for work, I'm like, I love it.
Oh my God, I am exactly the same. And now
Yeah.
I've realized that I need to set some sort of boundary in that context because so I recently wanted to like buy a camera and then I was like, oh, because I want to
Mhm.
buy a camera, let me just buy some mics. And because I wanted to upgrade my podcast setup and I wanted to have some free mics for videos and everything. And I was like, just so I'm buying a mic, let me also buy a video mic. And I was like, now that I'm taking a video bike, let me also have a gimbal. Now I have this huge kit
Oh,
that
yeah.
is so much time consuming and so hard to use that I haven't really put that time into it. But
Yeah.
I'm this person who always gets like, if I have something in mind about work, I get so invested into it. I'm like, oh, I'm going to get the best thing. And most of the
Absolutely.
time, it doesn't work so much in my favor.
Yep. Yeah, that was me earlier. I mean, I bought all this stuff and I had my boyfriend call me so I could listen to the audio on and get feedback from the other side. And he was like, "You sound terrible." I was like, "Gosh dang it." He's like, "You sound so far away." And he's like, "And it sounds all muffled, like all white noise." I'm like, "Shit, like I bought this to make clear audio, but it's doing the total opposite."
But it's
So
doing
I'm
its job
glad.
great.
Okay, good. I'm glad it's working now.
No, it is. It is. Now that we'll see, I hopefully like we'll hear more of you on your podcast soon.
Right. Yes, I
Now that
know.
you're ready.
Now I have to.
Yeah, you have to just like I also do you think like that? Like also have this tendency like a lot of times when I buy something, especially for work, I feel
Mhm.
guilty if I'm not using. And then I cook up projects and things the way I should justify the cost I've spent
Yep.
because I mean
100%.
I have sleepless nights otherwise.
Yeah, 100%. I think as creatives, we're all like multi-passionate in to a certain extent. So for me, the idea of all these different types of creative endeavors, no matter what they are, I'm like, oh, I want to do this. Now I want to do that. I mean, I got really into, and I still am. I was into it a while ago. Looking at stained glass, like a lot of stained glass artists on Instagram. And, stained glass is known as like kind of like an old timey grandma thing. It's like in the grandma's house on the windows. But there are these young stained glass artists that are doing these really cool stained glass like ornaments and windows and stuff. And I had to slow myself down because I'm like, I'm going to buy a stained glass set. I'm going to teach myself how to do stained glass. And I'm like, oh my God, focus. Like, just do your art.
Oh, you know what? Like, but did you always knew that you were like a multi-passionate person as a creator? Did you always recognize and accepted that fact?
Yes. I don't think I registered it as being multi-passionate. I think when I first started my art career, I loved experimenting and doing a little bit of everything, experimenting with different styles, different mediums, different, working on different materials and just always playing around and seeing what I could come up with. And the Instagram account I have for my lipstick paintings is separate from, I have another Instagram account of all of my other work.
Wow,
And
that's news to me.
yeah, yes.
I know you as the lipstick girl.
I know. I want to be branded with my lipstick work moving forward. But I do have like a long history of all these other creative projects I've done.
Yeah, I
And
was wondering that. I was actually wondering that when I was seeing your video, which is something I really liked. I love that video actually, where you spoke
thank
about your
you.
work and everything, and I was wondering that where is the rest of the work? And I was like, maybe you decided not to, put it up or something like that, because your website also
Yeah.
didn't show that.
Yeah, it's on a different Instagram page. I knew when I wanted to go full time with my lipstick paintings that I needed to separate them because they were so different from what I was doing, kind of my custom work and little individual paintings and projects here and there that I would get into. So I separated them for social media reasons. But I remember when I was working on my older work, not including the lipstick paintings, I always, kind of similar to you, I was always nervous about getting stuck with one thing, and I didn't want to pigeonhole myself because I've heard of a lot of stories where other artists, they only do like paintings of cows and barns and things like that, and they build this clientele around it and they build their audience, but then they get stuck doing that, and sometimes they're like, I want to paint a sailboat, but now
Yeah,
I have this whole
yeah,
branding around barns and cows and pigs and all this stuff. So I always knew I didn't want to get stuck doing anything unless I really loved it and I really
yeah,
wanted to grow it and push forward. But
yeah.
so now I go
And I
back and
think,
forth.
I think also just, I don't know if that makes sense, because for me, even though when I look back in retrospect, my expectations of things haven't really changed. Like, it's evolved. I think there's a huge difference between evolution and change. My
Mm-hmm.
subject matter has for years been women, like, a lot of things like that. But just, I mean, I needed that mental safety in my mind that if there was a day I didn't want to do this any longer, I just
Mm-hmm.
needed to know that that was okay. Like,
Yeah.
even though I haven't really done anything except that, like, my subject matter particularly has been the same. Do you feel that,
Yeah.
like, for yourself?
Yeah. I mean, I've thought about, especially with my lipstick work, what it would be like if one day I get tired of lipstick and I don't want to work with it anymore. And then
Yes.
how do I
Yeah.
continue to change and adjust from there? Luckily, I haven't gotten to that point yet. I think with lipstick, it's so new and I almost feel like I'm an explorer and like a pioneer with this new medium because it's
Absolutely.
constant, trial and error and
Yeah.
experimenting and seeing what works and what doesn't work. And so it's been very exciting and
Yeah.
stimulating. And I haven't gotten bored yet, which is great. um, but I think I'm trying to get myself to a place where I'm an artist, but it's not all that I am.
Oh,
And
yeah.
at some point, if I want to end my art career, I'm allowed to do so and go do
Oh,
something
wow.
else.
Do you think about that?
I do. I I more so think about it in a sense of like, for example, if something were to ever happen to me physically and I couldn't paint
Couldn't
anymore,
do
I
it.
couldn't draw, like I have to be okay with who I am as a
Yeah.
person without having the ability to come to the studio, paint every day, and like continue this lifestyle. Because I know it could happen to anybody. And so I think
Yeah.
I don't think about it a
I
lot, but it's
love
always in
this.
the back of my mind.
Yeah, I love your honesty about this, because I think this is something I I think I have asked this question to myself so many times. And I
Mhm.
think that's when I got my answer. And thankfully, I mean, I just felt like I think I gave myself an answer that I wasn't even prepared for, but was something that really triggered, like, meant to. true to me. Like I
Mm-hmm.
kept on, and even today I keep on asking myself, like, um, is it okay? Like, if one day I feel I don't want to make anything, will I be okay? And I kept on getting this answer to myself that I can see myself if there is a day where I'm not able to make something, create something in the sense of a painting or like, stuff like that. But
Mm-hmm.
I couldn't see myself. And I've always imagined, like, just the way you said, like, I've always thought of this idea so many times that what if something happens to me? And I'm like, I figured that I am such an impulsive creator more than an artist. Like, for me, like even with arts to hearts or with my own practice, or even if I'm sitting, even if I'm like laying a plate, or if I'm doing a house, or if I'm like I felt like I associated my identity more as a creator than just as an artist. And
Mm-hmm.
just knowing that I will be okay if I don't paint, because if something happens. But I know that as long as I have my mind, that is going to be my like also like telling myself stories. Do you tell yourself stories in your head?
Oh yeah, all the time. All the time. Like it's yeah, absolutely. And I don't know if that's like part of just being a creative, like your mind's
Yeah,
always going and it's literally creating like stories and
stories.
circumstances and different things that could happen. But yes, absolutely. I tell myself stories.
What I need to ask you about is, I know your work is like your inspiration started, and your story with the lipstick paint, it started with a breast cancer friend, and
Hmm.
you've been impacted with that. And that's
Yeah.
how I think beginning of your work. I lost my mom recently in the past 1.5 years. It changed me drastically. And I think this led to me this question, because when after her, it was very hard for me to get back to my practice. And like also I became more like free, in the sense that I was like, when you lose something,
Right.
your fear of losing so precious, your fear of losing anything else gets like, if I went through this, I maybe will go through anything else. How
Yeah.
has this I'm sure your painting, especially you're a woman, your subject matter is something that impacts so many women. Also, I love this painting that's also behind you, like that also has like this contrast with breast cancer, the femininity of the material, that like lipsticks, and that the power and
Right.
the strength. Does working with this subject, how does that impact you as an artist, as a person, as a woman? Like,
Oh gosh. Well, first of all, I'm so sorry to hear about your mother. I didn't know that. I can't imagine what
thank
it's been
you.
like for you since then. I we lost a good friend of ours back in October, and I know it's hard to get yourself back into the swing of things, especially work, and creative work,
Yeah,
because it's almost like you're just numb and there's no. It takes a while for that joy to start to come back.
yeah. At least for me, it triggered that like it triggered that feeling, like these questions
Hmm.
that we just spoke about, like that we keep asking ourselves, like, what if something happens to me tomorrow? What if? And
Yeah,
something did happen. It just didn't happen to me,
yeah.
but it happened to someone very close to me, and it did impact me in a lot of ways. And
Hmm.
I figured, like, in a lot of capacity, those fears, I really saw those fears very closely. So
Hmm.
when you see something so closely, and you get through, like, you keep going forward. You're like, if I can get through this, then mostly I can get through a lot of things.
Yeah.
I know your friend's story. I'm just seeing, I really want to know, like, you're working on such a sensitive matter, which impacts people close to you. You listen. Does that bring more freedom, or does that instill more fear? Or how does that make you feel?
I'd say it's a little bit of everything. The fact that all the lipstick that I use is donated to me, and they're donated mostly in honor or in memory of different women. And a lot of times people will gather and send me their actual lipstick tube. So it's like I get a piece of these women and a
Yeah, which
piece
is
of their
very,
spirit. Um,
Correct.
and like you said, like you come up with stories. Every time I get a package and I look at all these lipsticks, especially the ones that are used, you can open them up and see the imprint of where they had would
Yeah.
put them on and the shape of their lip. And I would think like, was this a lipstick that a woman wore to her daughter's wedding or her son's graduation, or did she wear it on like a night out with friends? Like I always think about where these lipsticks came from and the lives that they lived before I ever had the privilege of getting them. Um, Painting with them is such a privilege. It is probably one of the greatest honors of my life that people have entrusted these tubes with me. And I think more than anything, it's become a huge source of motivation and inspiration, because there are days where, painting for hours and hours at a time can be exhausting day after day. So a lot of the times I
Absolutely.
don't, yeah, it's draining. And a lot of the times when I don't want to come to the studio, I think about those women and I'm like, I have the privilege of driving to my studio. I have a healthy body. I have a sound mind. I get to come and do what I love for a living. And I get to build something that honors a
Yeah.
community of women that are so deserving. And like you said, if one day I'm not here, I want my work and my message and the way that I was able to hopefully serve this community to be what people remember me by. I want that to be the focus over anything else. So it's been incredibly special, and there's all sorts of emotions that I get. I have a lot of women that come into my studio for events. They learn about the work and they see the paintings, and there's been lots of tears shed in my studio. And,
Absolutely, I'm sure.
I've made lots of friends and given out lots of hugs. And to me, it's that human connection and it's that relationship with a stranger that, like, I don't know what you're going through, but like you're loved and you're supported. And like life is hard for everyone at different times and for different reasons, but
Yeah.
we're all in it together. Um, so yeah, I definitely very motivating, very inspiring. And then, on the flip side for me, I'm learning a lot about the breast cancer community. And
Yeah.
I've partnered with the National Breast Cancer Foundation. So working with them and learning from them has been so impactful. And even for my own health, I've learned so much about,
Yes,
doing
absolutely.
self exams and staying
Yeah.
up to date with your mammograms and all these things. So I think it's nice that I'm also being educated on the back end and I get to be a student again.
I love that. I think things like that, like they impact us, subconsciously feel that it hasn't, but it impacts us in way than we can put in words. Tell me
Mhm.
something. How did you come up? What brought you to breast cancer as a subject matter? Was it like a personal experience, or like how did it all began? I know your friend's story, but was it after that, with that? Tell us more about that.
Yeah. So I I actually started my very first lipstick painting back in 2014. So it was a while ago. I had to take a break after my first one and work on doing custom work and, financial reasons, building my career, all that stuff. So there was a big break there. But the reason that I went into lipstick was because I guess at that time, I was wanting to start a new series and I was wanting to challenge myself with a new medium. I'd seen people that painted with like coffee or chocolate or, something different. And I was like, oh, that'd be a cool way to challenge myself. And within a couple months' time, we had a lot of good family friends that were diagnosed with breast cancer. And I just felt like God was drawing me towards that as being something charitable that I could get behind. And that way my work could have a lot more meaning and be a lot more impactful. And I sat down with a family friend of mine because obviously I don't know anything about breast cancer personally. And thank God. No one in my immediate family or extended family has ever had breast cancer. So sat down with our family friend and I was was trying to just kind of get some research done and learn more about what she was going through. And I said, what's the hardest thing for you? And she said, well, I really struggled with feeling beautiful and feeling like a woman. And she said there's a lot of physical side effects, obviously, to chemo and radiation. And she's like, everyone knows that your hair falls out, but there are a lot of other physical side effects, like, your skin changes color, your nail beds don't grow in right, your eyelashes will fall out. And she just didn't feel beautiful. She didn't feel empowered. And her doctor was telling her, you have to find something that brings you hope and brings you joy, because your mindset and the way that you're thinking is so powerful with how it correlates to your body. And, anything you can do to make yourself feel better will have an impact on the treatment. And so she would actually she started putting on lipstick before all of her chemo treatments. And that was her way of feeling beautiful again, feeling like a woman again, kind of her way of taking control of the situation and saying, I got this. And it just so happened that by putting the lipstick on, she felt more positive. She was in a better headspace, and then her body started responding better to treatment. And I thought it was so interesting that lipstick could, make such a big difference. And obviously from an artist standpoint, I'm thinking as a medium, it's similar, to an oil pastel.
I mean, that's not even like a medium like a lot of people have considered. Like it's something that's uncharted.
Right. I know. And I think, so through my research, I've only found one other artist that has used lipstick. But she used it in a pointillism application, and she would put it on her lips and kiss a canvas and make an image out of it.
Oh, wow.
Gosh, I wish I remembered her name, because I'd love to give her credit for that. But yeah, her work was beautiful, but I was like, I could never, like my lips would fall off. Like I just could not kiss a canvas that many times. So I started experimenting with my lipstick, different ways of application. And I always tell people, like, my first couple like sketches and things were so ugly. They were so awful. I had no idea what I was doing. I did not know how to control it yet. And, just slowly started to progress. My mom told me, I have some extra lipsticks you can use. So she gave me some extra lipsticks of hers. I had some friends give me some of theirs. And that's how I organically began this donation process. And that, in my opinion, has been my favorite part of the entire series. And I've had a lot of people come up to me and say, you need to get sponsored by a makeup brand. You need to get sponsored by a big company, and that can give you all this exposure and give you all the lipstick. And I'm like, yeah, but then like that would be awesome. But at the same time, then you lose that personal touch. Like I want to paint with lipsticks from actual women.
But a brand, what? But that's actually a great idea. I mean, imagine the lipstick that you can collect. Why your brand? I mean, you could still have the same message, but you just have a bigger agent to collect something like that for you.
Right. Yeah, that's a good point. I'd love to collaborate with a big brand and do something for them specifically, a custom painting and, out of their lipsticks for their headquarters or whatever the case is. But I just love getting packages and I mean the notes and the letters.
So like people randomly send you?
Mm-hmm. So
really?
they'll gather lipsticks and send them to me. I get a lot of letters from them. Some of them are just from people who love what I'm doing, and they love the idea of recycling, and they don't want to throw their lipsticks away. Other people, have gone through breast cancer themselves, and they want to donate their lipstick. I had one gentleman who was finally going through his wife's belongings, and his wife had passed from breast cancer.
I remember seeing that letter in your video.
Yeah, and that one to me was so special. I actually knew her son from high school. I never had the pleasure of meeting her, but I knew her son. And, he was a wonderful kid. And so it only speaks volumes to the mother that I'm sure she was.
I think the moment I saw your video, and also personally seeing, relating to the situation because of my mom, one thing that came to my mind was like, it's not only something that you've been making as an artist, it's also such a great way, like for someone like me. I mean, I felt like via that, I have held on to things of her that I don't want to let go, that I know maybe at some point will, are perishable and may not sustain, or like, things like that. Sometimes like clothes worn out, and like not everything lasts. Like, I think that is why also my own work personally started becoming a lot about heirlooms. And like, I come from a culture of India where, and I think not only India, but in a lot of places where, you know, pieces of heirlooms like, jewelry that sort of survives for generations, like people hold on to that, like something like what I'm wearing right now. This is a memory um, for me of her. And
It's
I
beautiful.
thank you. And when I saw your, you know, work, and especially when I saw your video, I was like, I mean, I would love to not only her lipstick, if someone would tell me like, if there's a way I can, store this in a long lasting, like I know that who she is, it's converted into another, like, a painting or something.
Yeah,
And that is like a memory of her that I can hold on to forever. Like, I
right.
think that's a beautiful gift. Like, not only beautiful, I think it's a priceless gift.
Thank you. Yeah, I mean, I have so many ideas of different ways I want to take this. And like you said, offering custom pieces for people that are more of a remembrance painting. I'm still trying to kind of figure out the logistics of that because my lipstick paintings, they all have to go through a very extensive drying process.
Oh,
It's one of
wow.
the
Really?
reasons why, yeah.
I really needed to ask you,
Yeah.
how do you protect it? How do you seal it? How do you make, like, how do you even get these effects? Like, you don't have like a, like, you don't, how do you, like, because you're painting, the moment when we started our conversation, I figured you're a perfectionist, and I was looking at that
Yeah.
painting on the back, and I was like, hell, you are. Like, yes, you are. Because I
Oh,
mean,
that's
I
so
can't believe, like, when I'm looking at this, it looks like a pencil render. Like, there are these pencil renders that look very
hmm.
real. Like, it
Yeah.
looks like that to me. And to,
Thank you.
like, for anyone to believe it's come out of a lipstick, it's just
Yeah.
too good.
Thank you so much. I have to be very transparent. Like I said before, they didn't look like this when I started. It's been a massive learning curve. It's been exciting, but it's been a lot of work. And I would say the one thing, well, two things. It's a very extensive drying process that I'll get into further. But lipstick is super delicate, and the thing that I have learned with it, patience, which
Oh, absolutely.
I am I'm teaching myself to get better at, and I almost like the challenge because I think I've noticed over the last couple of years I like to lean into really hard things because I feel like it shapes me as a person way faster than comfort.
Oh my
And
God, I'm relating to you on so many levels.
we got this. We're right here.
Yeah.
Um, but lipstick is so delicate. So I have to be very patient with the way that I apply it. And it has to be very light touches, almost to the point where it's just like tap, 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 like barely, the bristles of my paintbrushes are barely blending it. Because if you push too hard, it'll just scrape away what you have already laid
Oh,
down.
wow.
So yeah, I mean, I've learned a variety of techniques, tricks, different processes and things like that. Processes of laying the lipstick down, as well as processes of lifting it back up and getting some highlights coming through. Um, the drying is that to me from the very beginning was kind of the number one issue that I needed to figure out. Because obviously for me, I want to sell these paintings. That's the
Absolutely.
whole point, you know?
Yeah.
And I need to be able to dry them to the best of my ability and preserve them to the best of my ability for my collectors. And, you know, I went through probably a 2 or 3 year research period just trying to find a varnish that worked. Um, I finally found
Wow.
one through the help of it was actually a man that worked out of Washington that did art restoration. And he kind of gave me advice just based on the chemistry of lipstick because I was really
Oh, wow. Yeah,
struggling
that includes a lot of that. Yes, absolutely.
because I was really struggling with a lot of the store bought stuff. It would just lay on top because lipstick has a lot of wax in it. It when it's set, it would just get sticky. So obviously, I couldn't use that. But yeah, I finally found something that worked. I have a lot of people ask me, like, what is it? And I'm like, I can't tell you. That's like my secret sauce. Like, that's all I got to hold on to. I'm like, listen, if you do your research, you could probably figure it out. But I'm like, I ran that race for too long. I can't just give it out.
That's
Um,
honest, and I think that makes sense.
yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah. And
I mean,
then,
you got to do some effort if you really want to figure it out.
right. And, you know, and then obviously the issue of framing. So I
But
with my drying process, I can only get them about 85% dry. So then I actually have to
wow,
frame them. Yeah. So I work with a framer here in Houston. They're called Unique Arts of Houston, a wonderful company. And we worked together and basically built out a custom framing process where it's like a couple of different frame parts put together and it pinches museum glass in between it and but it's still breathable on the back end because I learned that with a cotton canvas you can't fully enclose it because it needs access to oxygen or else it'll start to rot over time
yeah.
and
I mean,
degrade, which
peel
I
off
didn't
or
know.
maybe like crack up or like
Yep.
things like that that we really don't think about in because
Right.
everything is sorted with traditional mediums. But
Hmm.
like when you're experimenting, you have all these things to take care of.
Yeah, and all these unknowns. And I always knew I wanted it to be behind glass. I use museum glass because it is anti reflectant, and it was very important for me to allow my viewers to get as close to the painting as they want and not be distracted by their reflection. So, yeah, the framing process took probably another year and a half. Obviously, a lot of financial investment, but we finally got a framing process figured out. And because of the glass, it's UV protectant, so the paintings are protected by dust, debris, sunlight, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, because
Um,
it'll again, if it's half dry, it's still like wet, then it's still going to attract all of those things.
yeah. So they're once I get them framed, they're fully protected, obviously to the best of my ability. You know, you could always break it when you're trying to hang it up in your house. You know, I can only do so much, and then my hands are
I
clean.
love this. Like, I asked this, one of my favorite artists who was also on the podcast. I've also been asked this question a couple of times
Hmm.
because I use embellishments on my paintings, which are basically
Hmm.
embroidery materials that embellishments on surface embroideries in like textiles.
Hmm.
And someone asked me, like, what do you do if something falls off and, you sell a painting or something and something falls off. I'm like,
Right.
if it falls out or if it falls off, even though like I try to like you, I have done so much of research when it comes to sticking things, like,
Hmm.
even with embroidery materials, because India's, original craft is embroidery. And then we have
Right.
so many versions of traditional glues that people really don't know about. And like I
Yeah.
didn't know before, like I went into it and I'm like, I can do all that. I'm doing all that and I'm evolving and learning and all of that. But you know what? If it if it may fall down, I can stick it, always stick
Yeah.
it back for you. Or
Yeah.
and what I do now is I send my like a collector like a mix of some embellishments. Like just like when you get a piece of cloth, like you get a shirt
Yeah, it comes
And
with the buttons.
yeah, just in
Yeah.
case it falls off. Like there's nothing
Yeah.
guaranteed. And I remember asking Ritika Merchant, she's like South Asian, she's a really popular, one of my favorite women artists. And she makes these like very delicate watercolors um,
Mhm.
inside embroidery hoops. And they're very delicate, beautiful works and small and like paper on an embroidery hoop. That means like it's very delicate. I'm like, do
Right.
you get asked this like it's not framed, it's very delicate? Do people ask like how do they take care of it? And she's like, you have to be careful. If you can't be careful, then probably it's not for you. And like,
Yeah.
how much like I feel like so many times we feel pressurized for these things, but if we approach it as humanly, I think, as possible, like we can only do so much. And I
Absolutely.
another quote I think I really, we're just doing a round of promotion with Ali, Ali K Design. She's a muralist and she's very popular. She's done books. She said that one of her best advice she received from her father, apparently, which was, if it's too perfect, then it's probably not handmade. Like, then why would it be handmade? Then
Yeah.
it would be made in China. And
Exactly.
I love
Yeah.
that advice.
You want to
Like
see
the
the
human
human
parts.
touch.
Yes, yes,
Hmm.
yes. Like someone made
Absolutely.
it. Like there
Yeah.
will be errors. And even though when I cannot see it in the larger scale of things, maybe we will see those things because that's why a human made it. And
Right.
it's one of a kind. It's not mass produced. It is not
Yeah.
mass made.
I completely agree. And I have a, I guess, not a controversial stance on preservation, but I have a counterculture stance on it. I'm going to preserve my paintings to the very best of my ability. I will spend years researching. I will put all of my money towards investing to the best materials, best framing, best glass, whatever I can do.
But is it?
But that's the thing. And I have, especially with lipstick, I have a lot of people that are like, is it going to last? And I have a hard time with that question because I want it to last for my collectors, but I don't want my paintings to last for hundreds and hundreds of years. I don't want that. I think there's so much value in having a shelf life and having a time frame where a collector that buys an original painting of mine from me, they get to experience the painting as it's meant to be experienced. That's what they paid for. That experience will change over time for everyone that sees it. And that's any art, right? Like art restorations have been around forever because art ages and time touches everything. But I think the thing with me,
I love
especially with
that
these
sentence.
yeah, with these lipstick paintings, I'm like, listen, these paintings represent women who lived a wonderful life, and a lot of them are not here anymore. So I don't care if the paintings
Yeah,
change over time. They are
yeah.
living a life of their own, and
Oh,
they are
yeah,
aging just like we're aging. Like I think
yeah,
there's so much beauty in that, and our culture nowadays is like anti-aging everything. Like
yeah,
it's got to be
yeah,
perfect and it's got to stay
yeah.
perfect. And I'm like, no, the reason why flowers are so beautiful is because you get to experiencing them while they're blooming and you know they're going to wilt. But you keep buying them because it's the beauty of experiencing it in that moment. And that to me is priceless. And so I want my work, it sounds bad, but I want it to change over time eventually. Obviously, like not like in a year,
I love that thought. I love that
but I
thought, and I
want it,
so second to it.
yeah, I want
Like for
art to
me
have a
also, like
life.
I think, this thought has also come to me a lot of times because a lot of our materials that I use maybe may have a little bit of metal into it, or because I use glue, and because a lot of my work is also come from traditional, learnings and from my own culture. So the glue also I use, it's not like a mass product, like a brand or something. It's
Mhm.
basically something that's been produced by local artisans in my own city that I when I was researching and I found out, and they were like, this is something that we've been making for years, and this is what works, and you should use this. And ever since I've been using that, and I've seen, like, if I'm using a piece of metal over the years, I know that it's going to rust, or it's going to have that vintage feel, or, like, that aging
Yeah.
of a material, that which is meant to happen. And
Yeah.
honestly, I like that, because today, for me, when I look at legacies and pieces of heirlooms of my own family, if they look exactly how they were looking on day one, they probably wouldn't even tell that story of a time that I'm looking back at. Like,
Right.
it's an added
Sorry.
layer that actually adds that sense to it.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think especially the fact that it's glue from where you live in India, it's special. That's a cultural touch. It's not a material that you can get anywhere. And that's a touch that is very specific to the artist that created it.
Yeah.
And I always tell people, I'm like, yes, I'm the artist that painted these paintings, but these paintings, like the one behind me, I always say was done by 50 different women, because it wasn't
I
just
love that
me
thought.
that was
I
involved in
love.
it. It's like I can facilitate it and I produce it, but it's not just through
Yeah.
the
So
effort
many
of
more
me.
people
There's
are
other
included.
people.
Like, yeah. Okay,
Exactly.
tell me something. With your lipstick
Hmm.
series, you have three bodies of work that I saw. I love the
Hmm.
beginning ones, which is probably my favorite.
Yeah.
Um, three of them are very different from each other. The first
Hmm.
one deals with different parts of a woman's body.
Right.
Then this one is these boxing gloves that I see on your screen right now.
Hmm.
And then there were florals. Can you talk about how these subject matters and your thoughts behind, and, like, where are you right now, and your work is navigating towards?
Sure. So I started with my body collection. So the nudes were where I began. Um, I love anatomy. I actually
And you're
wanted to
pretty good
be.
at it. I think
Oh, thank
I
you.
I love figures. I love a human figure. Like, not a human
Hmm.
figure. I love women figure. I don't
Yeah,
know. I just love it.
yeah,
And there is this sense of, these curves when you see a woman's curvy body.
hmm,
And by curves, I don't mean like the sharp, like size zero or whatever that
yeah.
means. But like the curve, like what that feminine curve we feel. Like, when I saw your work, especially that series, I really like it gave me that same sense, like
Hmm.
the curve of the hip, or like that femininity and that boldness, and like also, like, I don't know like how other women do it, but I think I personally feel more comfortable when I look at my body when I'm alone, and when I'm naked. And
Right.
not all, like, we don't feel the same way when we're around people, and especially the way people project our bodies onto us. And when
Yeah,
I saw your
absolutely.
paintings, I felt the same feeling, actually.
Oh, well, thank you. I so as far as like the compositions go, I tried to focus on other parts of the woman's body that I thought were beautiful, and I tried to steer away from the breasts, even though it's about breast cancer. A lot of women obviously get double mastectomies, and they just have scars, and that's a very
Yeah, yeah,
hard thing for
absolutely.
them, and they feel like they're losing a side of their femininity, which I guess in a sense they are. It's, breasts are very representational of so many things. And, but I wanted my work to be a reminder that there are so many feminine
Yeah,
parts about the body.
yeah. And I
Um,
feel like breasts are also one of the most controversial points, because I don't think we all
yeah,
have the same relationship. I remember I grew up, especially as Indian bodies, as Indian women, we are generally heavy breasted and heavy on the
hmm,
bottom. I, all my life, like, until I actually accepted and embraced, I was
yeah,
very shy of being heavy breasted. And then
hmm,
I know so many people who felt so shy of being flat chested. Like,
hmm.
even though how it's just the same thing,
Me,
but we experience it so differently. I remember, I can't even tell you, like, believe me, when I was like a 12-year-old, if someone would have asked me, like, if I would have taken them off, believe me, I was
Yeah.
that conscious because,
Yeah.
heavy breasts give attention to people.
Right.
And you're like, you're adulting and you don't understand this, how it works. And like,
Hmm.
so it was a hard relationship. And then a lot of people had a very opposite relationship, let's say, to what I experienced.
Right.
And yet we,
Yeah. I think you're right. There's a lot of people who have either a love or a hate relationship with their breast. And it's hard because it's whether you love or you hate them. I think women don't realize the feeling they go through if they're not there. And almost the
yeah,
sense of now you're not a woman. Like,
absolutely.
and I think it's also the same of a lot of people who have to get hysterectomies, right? Like they feel like they've lost a part of their womanhood. And I wanted my
I know,
paintings,
yeah.
yeah, to remind women like your wrist is beautiful, your neckline is beautiful, your shoulder is feminine, and your hip is feminine. Like it's not, I think in our culture, it's like boobs are feminine and that's it. It's almost like they're over sexualized. And it's like, no, girl, like you got a lot of
Mm,
beautiful parts of your body.
yeah.
Um, so yeah, I started with the nudes and then I realized that not everybody likes nudes as far as purchasing pieces. So from a business standpoint, I was like, okay, I need to have a variety of subject matter. That way I can kind of, grab different audiences that are all obviously under the same theme. So then I went to roses, and I think roses are so symbolic of a woman. You have the contrast of, the thorny stem, and like they're strong and they're fierce, but then you have this beautiful flower that's delicate and soft and vulnerable. And I loved that juxtaposition. And then, like I said about the passage of time, a rose to me also represents a life. And sometimes it's blooming and sometimes it's wilting and it'll grow again. And, so it's also this idea of a journey that everyone's on, and we're all in different phases of that journey. And so the rose had a lot of different aspects to it that I just loved. And obviously, florals, people love florals. Um, they're a means for celebration. They're a means for mourning. People buy flowers for weddings and funerals and all of the big life moments. And then third, I started my symbolic collection, which I wanted it to be pieces that you had to, think like, how does this tie back? Like maybe this doesn't seem as feminine as my other works, but how does that tie back to breast cancer and what does it mean and all that stuff. And I have so many ideas for what I want to do with my symbolic collection. I'm just kind of getting started, and unfortunately these paintings take a really long time. So I want to do
How
so many of
long
them.
does one painting take you? How long? They're huge pieces, not that they're. This one is a big
Yeah.
one.
Yeah. So this painting behind me is 40 by 60 inches. Let me see if I can tilt this so you can see the whole thing. So it
Wow,
goes all the way up
stunning.
there. Thank
Love it.
you.
I love
That
the one on the left
painting.
also.
Oh yeah, and then this is Reflect. She's just
Gorgeous. I
chilling.
can't believe you painted this with a like lipstick. I still can't believe that.
Thank you.
I
Sometimes
mean,
I can't believe it. And it's funny because my brothers always make fun of me. I have a tendency when I put lipstick on my lips, I always go outside the border on accident. And they're like, what the hell is wrong with you? It's like, how can you do that? But you can't get it on
I
your
know.
lips. And I'm like, I don't know, dude, leave me alone.
It is a point.
Yeah. But yeah, this piece or this painting took me 7 months to complete.
My
Um,
goodness.
yeah, but I will say I have to balance my lipstick work with other work I'm doing too. So I'm constantly going back and forth.
Yeah,
Um,
that makes sense.
yeah, so if I had the mental capacity to just sit down and do nothing else but lipstick, I could probably cut it down to maybe 4.5 months,
Yeah,
4.5. But I think for me, creatively and visually, I need a change. And a lot of times
I agree with
I'll,
that.
yeah, I'll go back and forth from my lipstick paintings and then I'll work on an oil painting that I really want to do. And even sometimes
Oh,
just getting that shift in color, like working on an oil
yeah,
painting where there's green and blue, and I'm like,
yeah,
finally, my eyes can see something
yeah.
other
I
than
I
pink and
definitely
red.
get that. Yeah.
So,
I do a lot of blacks, like with a little bit of color. Like I used to do a lot of color, then I've transitioned into less, and then like, and I feel that like sometimes I do get bored and I feel like I want a breath of fresh air. But
oh,
then my
yeah.
mind is like, oh my God, my work looks like this, and like, all those things that we keep telling ourselves. Then I
Yeah.
open my sketchbook and I'm like, here, I can do anything and everything I want.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And I think for me, especially with my lipstick series, I have to be doing other work financially, um, because these paintings take so long and I'm looking for very specific buyers. I need income coming in to support me while I'm working on them. So obviously, I sell prints. That's basically my main source of income for the lipstick paintings, other than selling originals, which doesn't happen as often as I would like. But like I said before, I'm going for a very specific collector.
Yeah,
And so I need to work on side work so that I
yeah,
have that money that's coming in that I can continue to reinvest into this series as much as possible and continue to grow it. Um, so it's a survival thing for me. I'm like, it's nice creatively to have a break, but I need it.
yeah,
Like, I can't just stop altogether. At some point, I would love to have some gallery representation and be
yes.
focused on just producing originals and selling them, because that to me is where I can get the biggest amount of money to donate. I donate 20% of all my sales. So when I sell an
Oh wow,
original,
that's so just kind of you.
thank you.
Like that's
I
wonderful.
thank you. Yeah, when I sell an original, that's a big chunk of money I can donate, and that's my goal. That's my main goal.
Yeah, makes
I want
sense.
to be able to donate as much as possible. Right now, I have a goal. I'd love to donate 50,000 a year, and I'd love for that to be able to increase over time. But that's like my goal right now. I'm trying to get to. So
I'm sure you
one
will.
day.
I'm sure you will. You will very soon. I'm sure. It's just
Thank
there.
you.
It's been wonderful, Catherine. I can't believe it's been an hour. My dog has been snoring all this while. I'm just trying to make sure. I'm just petting her on the
Oh,
head. I'm
I
like,
love
don't
that.
snore, like, don't snore. Like,
Oh
all
no,
my girls
she's
are
cute.
here.
I couldn't hear
And,
anything, so you're
oh,
good.
you didn't? Oh my God.
Uh-uh.
Wonderful. So it's so hot right now because I had to switch off the AC for the noise and everything. And like, I
Yeah.
have three of them, and two of them snore
Oh,
like a grandpa, and like I've
yeah,
just been petting her, please don't snore, please don't snore for a
that's
while.
amazing. What kind of dogs
I,
are they?
oh, I have three rescued. Like one is a
Oh,
Labrador, two of them are mixed. One is a stray that used to live outside my apartment when I was living in Delhi alone.
yeah.
And then she got hit. She was very old, and since then she's been living
Oh,
with me. Then she moved to my parents' place. Since
yeah.
then, we have three girls, and I have a big followership. Wherever I go, they lead me with like I have a tail that keeps moving with me,
Yeah, that's awesome.
and
I
they
love
hate the
that.
hour when I record because it gets pretty hot.
Yeah, yeah, I bet. I couldn't even imagine. How hot is it there?
It's hot,
Yeah,
but basically we can't use any like while I'm recording, I can't use an AC or something because it makes a little bit of noise.
right.
Um, like I remember one episode when one of my girls, like she's still snoring, came. I had so much of noise in the background that I could hear all her snores.
Oh
So
my
I was
God.
like, please don't do this today.
Please,
Please don't
God.
do this today.
Well,
I
I
can't
didn't
believe.
hear any snores, so you're good to go.
Oh. But I'm so grateful, and now I'm excited for the rapid fire. So, are you ready?
Yes.
Okay. So this has to be fast. Give me
Okay.
what comes to your mind fast. There's no right and wrong. Okay.
Okay. Now I'm nervous.
Okay, here we go. One thing you want to convey through your work in the arts.
One thing I want to convey is love. That is my main focus. Is I want people to look at my work and feel love for people who are going through hard things.
Lovely. What's that one word that describes you the best?
I hope that it's faithful. I want
I
my
love
faith
that.
to be the center of what I'm doing.
Oh, wow. If you could have a studio anywhere in the world, where would it be?
Ooh, girl. It is my dream to have a cottage in the mountains and to have
Oh,
a
I love that.
studio that is
Me
like
too.
all glass and I can watch the trees change color.
Oh,
I can watch
wow.
the snow fall. That to me would be heaven on earth.
That's like my dream that you've just described. I mean, I
Well,
just want animals, trees,
yes, we can
a
do it
wooden
together.
house. Oh
Yeah.
my God, yes, let's do it. Let's do it. Like, I still keep telling this to my partner also, like, I'm going to settle. I'm just working. Like, I even shared this message the other day in my stories that I received so many responses that I'm working so hard because
Yeah.
one day I want to disappear into the forest, live in a
Yep.
cabin, and just that is where, like, this is why I'm doing this.
Absolutely. That is my dream. Live in a cabin, have a beautiful studio, and I want to have like an animal sanctuary where I can just
Oh,
rescue all
wow.
the animals. That's like my dream.
Same here. We are going to have such a blast doing this together.
I agree.
Okay. If you could, oh, sorry, we got this already. Your biggest source of inspiration.
My biggest source of inspiration is God and my faith. I truly believe God is the creator of everything, and I find so much beauty in the smallest details of the world, and I'm just overwhelmed by how incredible it all is, and that motivates me more than anything.
Oh, wow. I love that. Who's your go-to person when you're in trouble or in need of advice?
Oh, my go-to person. It depends what kind of trouble I'm in. So I say either.
Are you a lot in trouble?
Well, depends on whether it's like now or like a couple years back. Let's see. I would say definitely my parents. Very close relationship with both my parents. They've been incredibly supportive of my career, and my cousin. My cousin Christina and I have a stupid close relationship, and we
That's so nice.
everything. So yeah, we're always
So lucky.
back and forth.
I love that. That's so inspiring. Okay, who's your favorite woman artist?
Oh gosh. Oh God, that's impossible.
Just name any point of time, anyone that strikes to your mind.
I love Ashley Longshore.
Oh wow.
Yeah, I know she's a newer artist in our generation.
Yeah.
And,
she's a trendsetter. Like she's like a
yes.
She's a generation setter. I think. Like she's that.
Yeah, I met her at a book signing here in Houston, and I have never understood ever people that are like groupies, and I was a groupie with her. I was like fangirling so hard. I was so anxious to meet her, and I'm like, what is wrong with me? Like, this is not who I am. I was freaking out. Obviously her work is beautiful, but for me, it's her work ethic and her story and how she hustled, and she knows exactly what she wants to say, how she wants to say it. She's very clear.
And she doesn't care. I think I love her energy of like, absolutely no fucks.
Yeah, absolutely. And I love that. I'm like, I just wish that more women felt that kind of empowerment to just go after it and not give a shit what anybody says.
Yeah.
And so I love that about her. And I have a book. Yeah, I have a book she signed, and I read it from time to time.
Oh, wow.
So yes, very motivating for sure.
That's amazing. Okay. Can you share a favorite moment of yours as an artist? Something that, any experience or moment where you truly felt very grateful for where you are and what you're doing right now?
Okay, so I have a story that happened probably back in 2017-ish. I was doing a small art fair. It was called Art in the Park, Friendswood, Texas. Very small neighborhood little art fair for the weekend. And I brought some prints out, and I had finally made some prints of some of my rose paintings. And I had, it was very immature setup. I was new to doing all of this. I had a little tent, had my prints, put all my money into it, and I was just hoping for the best. And it was a pretty slow weekend. I mean, it was a wonderful show, met wonderful people, but this woman came up, and she was looking at my lipstick prints. And I remember she was kind of looking at things, and I remember she was pregnant. And she started to get teary-eyed, and she was reading some of the stuff that I had about what the series was, what it meant, why I was doing it. And she was teary-eyed. I was talking to another person, but I noticed her. And she looked at me and she goes, it's beautiful work. And she left very quickly. And there was something inside of me. And granted, I've seen a lot of people get emotional, over my work. And so it wasn't anything new. But I had this feeling in every cell of my body that it was like this tension of like, go after her, go after her, go after her. And I feel like, to me, that was one of the first times I ever felt like God talking to me, like, go after her, don't let her go, don't let her go. And it was like, give her something, like, give her this. And I'm like, it all happened so quickly. And I was, you have to remember, I was at a point in my career where giving away a free print was me losing money, and I needed to make money, so it wasn't something I wanted to go and do, or I would normally go and do, but this feeling inside me was so crazy. So I was like, okay, fine. And I grabbed this print of one of my roses, took off after her. She was already like 6 tenths down. Took off after her, left my booth unaccompanied. So who knows if people stole anything. I was just like booking it. And I get up to her and I tap her on the shoulder. She turns around and she's, had been crying. And I said, I am so sorry. I don't know what's going on. I know this is really weird, but I would really love for you to have this. And I gave it to her, and she just broke down. And I was just kind of like, oh shit, what did I do? Like, oh no. So I just gave her a really big hug, and I said, I hope you love it. I'm so sorry. I got to get back to my tent. And I went back. And so I had not heard from her. She never came back around. It was just a weird thing that happened. And so probably 6 months later, I got an email, and she said, hi, I just wanted you to know, I don't know if you remember me. I was at Art in Park, Friendswood. I was very pregnant. I was very emotional. And you ran up to me and you gave me a print. And I broke down, and she said, I want to tell you why I was so upset and so emotional. And I'm reading it, and I'm like, oh my God, she actually reached out to me. Wasn't expecting it. And she said, I was grieving the 1-year anniversary of my best friend passing away from breast cancer. And her 1-year anniversary was the day before the art show. I believe it was the day before, or probably the following day. It was very close. And she said, I saw your work, and it made me cry because I miss my friend so much. And I left, and she said, when you gave me that print, the reason why I broke down was because my best friend's name was Rose. And you gave me a rose print.
Oh my God, I can't. Oh my God.
So I was like, I still get teary-eyed, because to me, that was all I needed, that little glimpse of it was like God telling me, like, you're doing this for a reason, and I just proved to you that I'm woven into this story, and I'm gonna help you get where you need to go, but you have to trust me. And
wow.
her and I have stayed good friends. She's wonderful, and we've gone to dinner, and and she is a breast cancer survivor herself, and so that to me just instilled so much confidence in me that this is what I'm meant to be doing, and it's meant to be so much bigger than me as a person, and it's meant to help so many other people, and I'm just so privileged and happy to be the one that gets to bring it to fruition. So that is by far my favorite memory of my career.
If you were to meet younger Katherine today, what advice would you give her?
Oh my gosh. I would give her a very big hug, and I would tell her that all the work that you're putting into it will pay off. And, all the late nights, all the money invested, all of the sacrifices, and all the things that you wish you had in life, they're going to come, but you just have to be patient, and you have to keep putting one foot in front of the other, and you just have to keep trusting that God has big plans for you and that they're coming your way. But be patient. So that would be it. And never quit. Never, ever, ever quit.
Shout out to an artist who you're currently loving on social media.
I actually ran across this artist. Her name is Shelby Monty. She's from Nashville, Tennessee. There's something about her work that is so raw and organic, and it's so opposite of the way my brain is structured, and I wish I could paint the way that she does. It's just beautiful. And I recently bought a small piece of hers. It's a crayon that she drew out of crayons. It's pink. It's in a little frame about this big, and it's in my office.
Okay.
And yes, I love her work, but her crayons, I saw it and I immediately thought about myself as a child and the love I had for art and just drawing, and that creative passion where when you're little, your imagination there's nothing you can't do, right? Like, you have this childhood innocence and this creative innocence where you can be whoever you want to be. And I saw that crayon, and like, I'm buying that. I love that piece, and it's super meaningful to me. And I'm actually going to post a video about it soon on my Instagram account. But yeah, her work is beautiful. I love all of her stuff. She has these swan paintings, as well as some painting. Like, all of her bird paintings are beautiful. And one day when I have a kid, I want to buy one for a nursery because they're just gorgeous.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, they're really beautiful. She's very talented.
I'm going to check her out, definitely.
Yeah.
Oh my God, this has been so much fun, Katherine. You are ready for your podcasted now.
Yay!
You've mastered the craft. You have so many amazing stories to tell. Oh my God, you're just so kind and wonderful. I think next time I'm going to hear your podcast, and let's hope that day comes soon.
Yes, agreed. One day we'll get there. Got all this equipment. I need to.
Yeah, you need to make the return on your investment now.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, now tell me something before I let you go. What are you working on next? How can we support you? Where can people find you? If you have anything coming up next, please feel free to share anything you want.
Sure. So I am working on a custom lipstick painting right now. I recently posted about it. It's for a breast cancer survivor in Las Vegas. Since it is my first custom painting, we're using lipsticks from her friends, family members, doctors, surgeons. So that is a super special.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah, I'm super excited working on that. And I'm hoping it'll be done within the next 2 or 3 months. And then how people can help me. I'd say the best way to help is to purchase a print. That is how I
Absolutely.
donate. That helps my mission more than anything. obviously, if you'd love to donate lipstick, if you've been touched by breast cancer in any way, I would love to get lipstick from you. But as far as being able to support the series, buying a print is the best way. And, buy one for yourself, buy one for a friend. The florals are great because they can be a wedding gift, baby shower gift. I mean, you name it. Where you can find me. So my Instagram is @paintedwithlipstick. Email is paintedwithlipstick@gmail.com. If you want to get in touch with me, my website, which is also where you can purchase prints, is paintedwithlipstick.com. What else? Instagram, website, email. If you're on TikTok, I got a TikTok recently.
Oh, wow. You're also on TikTok.
Painted with lipstick. Yeah, I don't post all the time on there because I'm trying to build my Instagram up. But yeah, that's all my stuff. That's where you can find me.
Oh, that's actually a lot. You on brand all together. You really are a perfectionist.
Yeah. Oh yeah. And actually, if you're in the Houston area and you want to come to the studio and see paintings, all of my studio addresses are on my Instagram, my website, and all that stuff. And we have open studio events on the 2nd and the 3rd Saturday of every month. And I always post about them on Instagram. So
that's amazing.
Come in, see the work, say hi to me, and hang out. So it's a fun time.
I would love to do that one day for sure.
Absolutely. You're more than welcome. Anytime you want, I'll take you out.
I'm going to come visit you.
Good. Perfect. And then we can go to the mountains.
Oh my God. That is a dream. That I'm making sure. I'm definitely doing that for sure.
Absolutely.
I want to live in the hills of every country possible. I just want to spend so much more time in nature and never come out of it.
Yeah. You and me both.
We'll do that. Just little patience. I'm taking your advice. Just a little bit more patience. Yes. But thank you so much, Katherine. You've just been so wonderful. I'm so glad we did this. And you are just so kind and wonderful. I truly am so grateful. It was so nice to speak to you. Thank you so much. Thank you. Of
course.
You're truly a gift for all of us.
Thank you. And I know that I said this when we weren't recording earlier, so I'm going to say it again. I'm so proud of the community that you have built and the fact that you saw a missing link in the art community and in the network where artists can, get a hold of each other and talk about things and express ourselves. And what you've built is so awesome and it's so beneficial to so many of us. So I'm so thankful that you took the initiative to do that. It's obviously turned out awesome and it continues to grow. And I'm just so thankful that you gave me this beautiful opportunity, not only to chat with you, but to tell my story. So I'm very appreciative.
It's truly my pleasure. Believe me, it's truly my pleasure. We also featured your website and I was like, that was such a great way. I thought let's just take this chance and bring you on the podcast as well. So I'm glad we did that. Not only me, but our team also loves your work. So it's just wonderful. And I think it wasn't just your work. I think I'm just so glad we did this because I just met another wonderful person and I'm just grateful for that. I'm grateful that we spoke. So thank you again.
Absolutely. Yeah, now I can say I have a friend in India.
Same here. You do. You actually, and we're going to stay in touch for sure. I know that.
Good.
Thank you so much. I'll see you soon. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you so much for listening to this episode. You can find all the details and links mentioned in the show notes of this episode available on www.arts2heartsproject.com. And if you like this episode, please don't forget to tag us in your stories and leave us a review here on iTunes or any of your favorite platforms. It really helps us to keep the show going. Thank you so much. I'm sending you lots of love and I can't wait to be back here soon again. Bye.